Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back once again. J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I'm your man, J.P. Today we're talking about Hasbros. Hasbros. I don't have a lot, but what I have I'm going to show you right now. Sergeant Slaughter. This is a guy, the really cool thing about this is I didn't have this one when I was a kid. I acquired this one just like about a year ago. And this is really cool. Before a year ago, I had never actually held this figure in my hand. But this is the Sergeant Slaughter. 10 hut. My only issue with the Hasbros, and I'll just tell you right now, is Hasbros came with these action moves. I never used them. And I don't know anybody that ever did. Now, I'm not complaining or anything. I love the Hasbro figures. I loved them. But I didn't like the action moves. I don't know anybody that did. That's not how you play with wrestlers. And I am going to demonstrate how to play with wrestlers, and that is coming. So just watch for that. Sergeant Slaughter. And then we have Crush. This was the Crush after he got out of the tag team Demolition. This is when he was a babyface Crush, and he was from Kona, Hawaii. He said brother a lot, and but he was like a big, strong guy. Personally, I mean, I don't want to say anything negative about the guy that was Crush, but I wasn't really a fan. I just didn't like his wrestling style. I don't know, but anyway, that's Crush. Typhoon. This the interesting about these figures is that the legs moved, and I think it's because originally like Typhoon's body is also Earthquake's body, which I don't have Earthquake, but so the idea was that he could bounce off the ropes and then sit on his opponent like Earthquake did. But anyway, that's Typhoon. Pretty good figure. Hacksaw, Jim Duggan. Ho! This is one of the two Hacksaws I own. But I always liked Hacksaw. He's kind of a brawler, kind of guy that stood up for the United States. He was a USA proud American. And that's Hacksaw. Jake the Snake Roberts. This guy got a lot of play when I was a kid. This is one of the first Hasbro I owned. Not this one specifically, but back then, Jake the Snake Roberts was one of the first Hasbros that I owned. And this is a great figure. This one got a lot of play. Later on, I'm going to talk more about these wrestlers, but for now, Jake the Snake. Roddy Piper. To say this guy had a lot to say would be an understatement. This guy had a lot to say on the mic. He had the Piper's Pit, and in the ring he was more of a brawler. But at WrestleMania 8, he proved that he could wrestle. But, yep, from Scotland, and later on he moved to my hometown, Portland, Oregon. I don't live there anymore, but this guy was a Portland resident for a long time, and towards the end of his life, me and my first wife went to meet him. I saw just on Twitter that he was at a local soda popping candy store, so I went out to the living room and asked my wife, "Did you want to go meet Roddy Piper?" And she said, "Yeah," because she was a big wrestling fan too. So we got in the car, we drove for about 45 minutes, and we got there. We got to meet Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper. Nice guy. The Big Boss Man, Ray Traylor. I like the Big Boss Man. I always thought Big Boss Man was kind of an underrated wrestler because I always thought he was great. This is a pretty good figure. The head is a little bit small, but this one got a lot of play. I loved the Big Boss Man. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Everybody's got a price. I'm wearing the shirt. Everybody's got a price. Interesting thing about Ted DiBiase, is a few years ago, I got to interview Ted DiBiase. I actually co-interviewed him, but me and my best friend Joe got to sit down and interview Ted DiBiase, and it was one of the biggest thrills of my life, because the night before, we got to go out to dinner with him. He told stories. I got to shake hands with him. I got my picture taken with him. One of the most dastardly heels of my childhood. I hated this guy when I was a kid, and when I told him that, he said, "Thank you." So, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Now we come to probably my favorite Hasbro, Greg the Hammer Valentine. I loved watching this guy in the ring when I was a kid. He didn't have a lot of personality, but that's why he had a manager, Jimmy Hart. And I think his whole gimmick was that he didn't have a gimmick. He didn't need a gimmick. His wrestling spoke for itself. I mean, this guy dropped elbows like really hard, and he did really hard chops to chest, and his suplexes looked really good. This is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers right here, Greg the Hammer Valentine. And this is a great figure because it has the leg bracelet he wore for a while, the hammer jammer, and I didn't have this when I was a kid. So later on in life, when I acquired this as an adult collector, I was very, very happy because this is the one that I kind of always wanted, Greg Valentine. This is Ric Flair. Believe it or not, this is Ric Flair. This is not a very good figure. I'm sorry, Hasbro. This figure doesn't do Ric Flair justice. The idea is to put somebody's head right here and then to do this. That's not how you play with wrestlers. There's no way I could have ever used... I didn't have this when I was a kid. My best friend Joe gave this one to me because somebody kind of customized the knees there with some kind of paint. But not the best figure. And I'm sorry, Hasbro, not a good figure. I mean, the face on, he's like, what is that? I got one more Hasbro to show you. The Superfly, Jimmy Snuka. Now, my best friend Joe had this one. We played with this one, but it didn't get a lot of play. The reason why is because the pose isn't real strong. I mean, he's got these open hands. Now, Snuka did a lot of chops and stuff, and like I said, we did play with this figure, but one thing I always didn't really like about the Hasbros is these fused together legs. Because the idea is that you push this down, release it, and he's supposed to jump. But honestly, as a kid, I would rather just jump him with my hand. Never understood these power moves that Hasbro... I mean, I guess I can understand their thinking. They're like, oh, this is a cool toy with action moves that little boys could have fun playing with. But honestly, for a lot of the boys, especially the ones that played with LJNs, that was kind of a silly thing that nobody used. Anyway, Superfly, Jimmy Snuka. And that'll do it for the Hasbros. And next time, I'm going to cover the Hasbro-esque Mattel Retros. So if you're new here, make sure to like this video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.